So today is a subscriber request day. So that means that this video, this topic is a result of you guys asking me questions. So remember, in the description or the comment section below, ask me questions or give me ideas for videos, and I'll probably make a video about it because I need content. What can I say? So let's talk about how to make a smooth bow on the violin. Okay, so instead of telling you how to make smooth bow changes, I'm actually going to cover the top 6 reasons why somebody may not have a smooth bow change. And then I'm going to give you exercises on those 6 items so you can focus specifically on the items that might be affecting you and your bow changes. Okay, so number 1 on the list, we have raising your shoulder, your bow arm shoulder, while you're playing. Okay, so you got to remember, right? Relaxation is your friend. Tension is your enemy. And when you have to engage more muscles than necessary while you're playing, you're making the violin even harder, right? The violin is hard enough. Don't make it harder by activating muscles that you don't need to be. So let me show you. So what happens a lot, especially on an up bow, as we approach the frog, a lot of people tend to do this. They'll raise that shoulder. I'm not talking about your elbow necessarily. I'm talking about the shoulder. They'll cinch up that shoulder, or they'll tense the shoulder. Or to put it another way, your shoulder will not be in a natural state. So if you're just standing here and you're not doing anything, you're not moving your arm around, and your shoulder is nice and relaxed, that's the position that you want it to be in. Nice and relaxed, no tension, and it's not necessarily activated. So you can see it, especially on the up bow usually. And sometimes on the down bow, people will do this as well. But don't raise that shoulder. Keep it down. So especially here, at the frog, keep that shoulder relaxed and keep it down, because that's one less muscle that you have to control that could go awry and could create a difficult bow change for you. So let's talk about number 2. Okay, so number 2 on the list is make sure that your elbow is approximately on the same plane as your wrist, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, and everybody's a little bit different. But what you want to avoid is this, right? You see how my elbow is a lot lower than my wrist? Even this is probably not good. This might be acceptable. Depends on what string you're on. Now, you could go the opposite direction too. I could raise my elbow far above my wrist. So what that does is it just creates this state of lack of equilibrium in your arm. And again, you're tensing up muscles in your arm that you really shouldn't be tensing up, and you're making the violin more difficult. If you can, as a general rule, keep your elbow and your wrist approximately on the same plane while you're playing, then that's just going to be a much simpler way for you to use your bow. So here I am at the tip. As I approach the frog, I'm not dropping that elbow down. I'm keeping it basically the same plane as my wrist. Now everybody's a little bit different, and there are some people who play with a little bit lower elbow. But as a general rule, you want to try to keep that elbow approximately at the same level as your wrist. And the difficulty that you'll most likely run into will be when you're doing an up bow and you might drop your wrist. It's especially problematic if you're on your E string. Now your arm is even touching your body. And it's cutting off that wrist, and it makes it so your fingers might be more prone to bounce around. So you get that shaky bow. It just makes it a lot more difficult to control your hands. So keep that elbow approximately on the same plane as that wrist. So let's talk about number 3. Okay, so the third big reason is that your fingers are tight on your bow hand, okay? So you want to have flexibility. Remember, tension is your enemy on the violin. Tension in all forms is not your friend. Your goal when you practice the violin, when you do anything on the violin, is to remove tension, to identify muscles that you may be activating either when you're not supposed to be activating them or activating them too much. Why? Because again, you are creating more muscles for your mind to control. Your mind only has so much computational power. Don't give it more work. So we do not want to have tense muscles. Now, the easiest way to avoid that is to make sure you practice your collé. Now, collé is an advanced technique. So if you don't have collé, don't worry. This still applies to you. But if you are working on your collé, well, I did a video on collé. So you want to work on your collé and improve it, because having that nice collé in your hand when you're changing bows, that really helps you with your bow changes. But we're not going to talk about super advanced stuff today. The number one thing that you've got to look for in your right hand is two fingers, your pinky and that thumb, right? So I've done a video on how to properly hold your bow. It's how to hold your bow in 3 easy steps. And it's actually true. You can learn to hold your bow really well in 3 easy steps. I'll put a link down there below. But you don't want a tense pinky. That means you don't want it straight, right? It's tempting, right? Because you feel like if I don't have a straight pinky, I'm going to drop my bow. No, you're not going to drop your bow. You know why? Because your violin is underneath it. So remember, this is not a bow hold, it's a bow guide. You are guiding your bow with your hand. So no tense pinky. You want a round pinky on the tip on your bow, maybe even slightly on the pad, but anyways, you don't want any locked knuckles. No locked knuckles. Some people have straighter pinkies than others. Some people have pinkies that look like this, and it will change depending on where you are on the bow. But you never want locked knuckles. Any time you have a locked knuckle, that's going to make your bow changes very difficult, because now you've got a rigid hand. Imagine trying to walk smoothly or quietly when your knees are locked. You can't. You're going to look like Frankenstein, right? So if you have a locked knee joint, it's the same thing as having a locked finger on your bow hand. Don't do it. It's going to lead to bad bow changes. So no locked pinky, no locked thumb. And this is what a lot of people do. They'll have their thumb like this, and it's locked. You need to have a bend in your thumb. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. And it's going to change according to where you are in the bow stroke, whether you're doing a down bow or up bow. But the point is, you cannot have a locked joint anywhere. No locked thumb, no locked pinky. That's going to make smooth bow changes very difficult. And it's going to make it impossible for you to get good at spiccato and collé. Okay, so let's talk about number 4. Okay, so number 4 is you want to tilt your bow slightly away from you when you're at the extreme frog. Now, you may have heard your violin teacher say, make sure you play with a flat hair because your sound will be better. That's true, but that doesn't necessarily apply to the very extreme part of the frog, like around right here, right at the very bottom. There are exceptions, but as a general rule, when you're doing an up bow and you're approaching that frog, what you want to do is, instead of keeping that hair flat, you want to tilt the bow a little bit at the frog. Why? Because if you're attaching all of these hairs, every one of them, at the frog, then that's more hairs that you have to keep track of when you're trying to change your bow nice and smoothly. Even if I don't use collé, now if I use completely flat hair, now it's going to be a lot more difficult. The bow is going to be, maybe might have more of a tendency to bounce, maybe more of a tendency to scratch. It's just going to make it a little bit more difficult because you're engaging more hairs. That's more hairs to control. So when you get to the extreme part of the frog, allow it to tip a little bit. The other thing that does is it clears your thumb, so your thumb doesn't hit the strings when you're doing an up bow. So, right? Because if you kept it completely flat, not only are you dropping your elbow, which is not good, but your thumb might come in contact with your E string or something like that. So tilt that bow a little bit. and that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to control that bow and not have those weird hiccups and some of the bounces that happen. Okay, so let's talk about number 5. Okay, so number 5 is a very small thing that you have to kind of train into your arm and your subconscious. And it's difficult to teach over the camera, because one of the primary things that you want to do when you're changing bow is a teacher will teach you to keep the weight in the bow. They'll say keep the weight in the bow when you're changing your bow when you're changing your bow direction, which is true. But there's some nuance to that. Yes, you do want to keep the weight in the bow, but you can also slightly reduce the weight at the very extreme parts of the bow. And when you do that, when you release that weight a little bit, I don't mean suspend the bow above the string. I mean having a slightly bit less weight on the bow when you're changing it will help you have smoother bow changes. And it'll help you a lot of the time not have a poor quality of sound or scratch on the string when you change bow. So I'm going up bow, and I'm lifting, I'm just releasing the weight a little bit, then reapply. Release a little bit and then reapply. Release a little bit and release a little bit. Release. Now, I'm exaggerating that a lot so you can hear it in my sound. You can hear how my sound is going loud to quiet, loud to quiet. I hope that mic is picking it up. But that's only because I'm exaggerating it. If I didn't exaggerate it, it's not as obvious. What you're going to feel when you release that weight on your bow a little bit is you're going to feel it actually in your bicep, believe it or not. You're going to feel it actually, this line right here in your bicep. So as you get prepared to initiate the change of bow direction, you're going to feel the lightening of this muscle right here, and then you're going to reapply it immediately once you start the bow change. Okay, you can feel it. You can feel it, then reapply. Relax it a little bit, then reapply. Relax. Relax. So you're going to feel most of the weight in the bow on your index finger. So while you're doing that up bow, you're going to feel the weight in your index finger pushing on that bow, getting that nice warm sound that's got core to it. And then the weight's going to shift, and then you're going to feel the weight more in this part of your hand, and then you relax that bicep right here, that line right here. Relax that index finger, relax the bicep. That's probably the number one aspect. If you have good setup and pretty good technique, that's that little tiny thing that subtle thing that you can do in the control of those fine motors, those fine muscles, those fine little twitch muscles in your arm. That's going to give you a lot smoother bow change. Okay, so let's talk about number 6. Okay, so 6 is really simple. You want to make sure your bow is as straight as possible, right? So if you're playing your bow, you want to basically keep your bow parallel with the bridge and the fingerboard. Okay. So you want to avoid this, right? A lot of times we do that, right? We look down at our bow and it's over the fingerboard. Oh no, we don't want that. So keeping your bow straight means that you are in control of a very symmetrical bow contact point, right? What is your bow contact point? Well, obviously, I think, it's where your bow is contacting your violin, right? Right here. That's your bow contact point. So you want to be obsessed with that. You want that bow to be 100% perpendicular to the string, parallel to the edge of that fingerboard and that bridge, right? Okay. Every time you're a lot more symmetrical, it's going to be a lot easier for you to control your bow, like smooth bow changes, spiccato, everything, really. Now, what is the number one reason why your bow is crooked? I'll tell you. It's because, and I've done a lot of videos on this, remember, your arm is basically two big joints, right? We have our elbow, and then we have our shoulder, right? So you've got to think of your arm in being two parts, your bicep and your forearm, right? So you don't want to freeze up this elbow. If you lock that elbow, watch what happens when I do a down bow. See that? What about when I do an up bow? Right? Because my elbow's locked. Now, what if we open up that elbow and we allow it to bend? Right? So, I've done other videos on this, so you could check, I don't know, how to do bow changes or how to play with a straight bow. I've done videos like this. Just, how do I play with a straight bow? Just look it up, and I provide a pretty good explanation. But as a general rule, remember, your arm is in two parts. Make sure you relax that elbow so you can move it. And remember, when you are doing a down bow, you're going to be moving your bicep first when you do a down bow, okay? You're initiating the stroke with your bicep. And you're completing the stroke with your forearm. On an up bow, you're initiating the stroke with your forearm, completing the stroke with your bicep. See that? 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, so that's all I'll say about that. Okay, let's talk about some exercises that you can do to help you improve these little things that you might be doing that are making smooth bow changes difficult. Okay, so in terms of exercises, it's actually pretty simple. You're going to do two things. Number one, identify the main culprit. So I just gave you 6 reasons why you may be having difficulty playing with a smooth bow stroke, and a variety of other things that could happen poorly, right? So you want to identify the things that you're doing the most. Remember, when you're practicing, things will not really improve unless you focus on exactly what you do want to improve. Just because you just play your violin every day doesn't mean you're just going to get better. It doesn't work that way. You have to say, what am I going to improve today? Today, I'm going to have better scales. Today, I'm going to have more relaxed bow arm. Today, I'm going to work on my vibrato. Today, I'm going to have better trills. Today. So you have to focus on specific things that you're practicing to improve them. If you do that, then you will be able to make a little bit of progress every day. But it's up to you to focus on those things. So what of those 6 items that I just listed are things that you're having the most trouble with? So pick 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever you want, whatever you got the brain capacity for. And then do slow strokes. Very simple, right? You don't want to give your brain more than it needs to work on. So don't work on your concerto and be thinking about your smooth bow changes or whatever during, whatever, the sights or whatever you're playing, right? Do slow open bows, right? So preferably with the metronome. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on and so forth. Remember, you don't want to do anything difficult in your left hand. Why? Because you're focusing only on your right hand. Now, you can do scales too. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And so on and so forth. Once you feel like you've made some pretty good progress and you've got a little bit extra bandwidth available in your brain, then pick a slow melodic piece, where you can play beautifully and everything else, and the bow changes give you some difficulty. Or it could be like a Bach Sarabande or something like that. But pick a piece that's really slow, and then, that you already know how to play to some extent, right? Now, use your new bow arm and your new consciousness to focus on your bow arm. Use that new skill set and awareness that you have to integrate into an actual piece of yours. So guys, I hope this video helped. And like I said before, well, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Like it, subscribe, right? Just hit that subscribe and then hit the little bell, little bell that alerts you to all the videos. We're above 50,000 subscribers now, which is really cool. Woohoo, right? It did seem like it took forever to get there. So the next goal is 100,000, right? So we need 100,000 subscribers. The only way we can get there is if you hit that subscribe button. And anyways, don't forget to put your questions and comments in the comment section below, because this video is yet another proof, some more proof that I do listen to you guys, and my videos are a result of the questions that you guys ask me. So I hope you guys learned something, like I said, and with that, I bid you adieu, and I hope you have a great time practicing.